Hello there. Okay, today we are talking about how to deal with fatphobic family members, especially when you're about to spend the holidays with them. Let's face it, this is something that causes my clients an immense amount of stress and anxiety. So it seems like every year that I've been working with eating disorders for the past 6 years, every time it's before the holidays, we always have a bunch of groups being like, okay, how do we best prepare for this? How do we react to this? What can we do ahead of time? What can we do during the meal if I start freaking out, right? So anyway, I just think it's a super important topic to be discussing right now. So I'd love to hear in the chat tell us where you're visiting us from, because I know even though we are local to Salt Lake City, Utah, we have TikTok followers, all over the US. So yeah, I'd love to hear where you're from. All right, so feel free to drop your questions in the chat as well as they come up as you are listening. So I've got a few questions already that I will go over, but yeah, I'm happy to answer any more that come up as we're talking. So this webinar is really geared to people who are in eating disorder recovery or people that have kind of anxiety around food because they're trying to repair the relationship with food that's kind of jaded right now. So that's really who this is for. It's not really specific to any, age or gender or anything, but is generally for people who are in eating disorder recovery, wherever that is on that spectrum. So. All right. You're going to learn how to deal with family members, comments about foods and body, because let's face it, they don't get it, right? I don't think that these people who love you, they wouldn't do this if they knew it was hurting you. They just don't get it. They don't get that it is hurting you. So they're doing their best and it's not great. So here's what we do. I want you to take notes. Minimize distractions, okay? So put your phone away unless you're watching on your phone, right? But grab something to take notes. Grab a pen, piece of paper, something like that. 'Cause I'm gonna be hitting you with a bunch of tips here, and I want you to have these so you can look at them, look at the notes section of your phone if you are during the meal and freaking out and you're like, I don't remember what to do. What did Shannon say to do? Go look at it, see what's up. Oh, also, let me introduce myself. In case you don't know me, I'm Shannon. I am the owner of Modern Eve Inc. We employ therapists and dietitians and train them to be eating disorder specialists. That's kind of what we do. It's our favorite thing is to help people who have eating disorders and disordered eating repair their relationship with their body and with the food. So we are here for that. We do mostly online sessions, although we do some in person here in Salt Lake City. And our dietitians are able to meet with people even if they live in another state. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, let's jump into this. If you're ready to get focused and get started, let's do it. Let's do this thing. So, okay. Tips. Let's start. I've got 13 tips for you. Let's start with number 1. Tip number 1 is have a support person. What this means is you just need to have someone in the room. Ideally, it's in the room, right? Someone ideally that you can make eyes with across the room and give them that look. You'll give each other that look when someone says something that is just not okay to be said, okay? Aunt Jan, she's a loose cannon sometimes, right? So I want you to be able to make eyes with your brother, your significant other, your cool aunt, your mom, whoever. You're going to make eyes across the room or next to them and be like, you just want to know that you're not alone in that moment when they make some stupid comment, okay? You're going to meet eyes, do something like that, okay? Have a support person. If there is not a person in the room or in the vicinity who you feel like you can trust like that or is on your side at all when it comes to supporting you in your eating disorder recovery. Let's say no one knows that you're even struggling with an eating disorder. No one knows who's in the room. That can be really hard. So that I'd say if your support person could at least be someone on the phone you could text. So that might look like Snapchatting your bestie when Aunt Jan says something out of left field. Yeah, you might just might want to shoot him a text. I remember in years past, I'll get comments from clients like texted in on that day on Thanksgiving with like some weird shit their family said, and I think what it helps do is it decreases the seriousness of it, because usually I'll send back a laughing emoji or like the hand, the palm to face emoji, because yeah, we got to make light of it. We got to laugh at the ridiculousness of their comments, because if we take it too serious, then it hurts and it just got real. And so have a support person would be my number one tip in. And these first 4 tips are all in preparation for big day. So keep that in mind. Okay. So tip number 2, if you are traveling, I want you to make sure and pack snacks. So pack snacks for the car, pack snacks for the plane, pack snacks. If you are traveling, here's the thing, even if you're not traveling, let's say your grandma lives a mile away from you and that's where you're for Thanksgiving, it's still helpful to have a snack or 2 in your purse, just in case they have a different schedule or eating schedule than you need to be honoring your hunger and fullness. I would hate for you to get there and then they say, oh yeah, we're not eating for a couple hours, right? And then you're like, oh shit, like I thought we were eating right now. I'm real hungry. This is no good. Or similarly, if they eat immediately right there, but then you're also stuck there the rest of the day, and then maybe they've put away the leftovers, and at that point you are going to need your own snacks. So it really helps you mentally limit the it's just like a scarcity mindset. A scarcity mindset is be really hard for you if you're like, where is my next meal? Where is my next snack going to be from? Because hunger is uncomfy, right? Like, I mean, for I guess some people with severe eating disorders, they really get off on hunger, but for a lot of us, hunger is not comfortable. So we don't want you to go into this panicky scarcity mindset and thinking, oh no, and then loading up with too much food when the food does come. So packing snacks can limit that scarcity mindset. Okay. Tip number 3 is to feed yourself throughout the day. Now, this is super important because I want you to make sure and avoid the binge restrict cycle. Okay. The binge restrict cycle happens to all of us, but I feel like Thanksgiving is just kind of the day where it almost becomes like socially acceptable to do that. But here's the deal. What I hate hearing is that, like, okay, let's say their Thanksgiving meals at 3 p.m. If you're not going to eat anything up to that, I can just predict what you're going to do at that Thanksgiving meal. You're going to overeat because you're absolutely starving. And then you'll be beating yourself up that you overate, right? Like, let's not go into that binge restrict cycle here. And I want you to eat throughout the day. So if you aren't eating till 3 o'clock in the afternoon, absolutely you're eating breakfast. Absolutely you're having a morning snack, and absolutely you're having lunch, right? Like, and I get that maybe the lunch would be a little bit smaller in that case, but like you've got to be eating throughout the day. And then by the time 3 o'clock rolls around, you're probably not that hungry, right? You might not end up eating all that much after all. We'll see. I don't know what time your family does your Thanksgivings, but all I can say is just be eating consistently throughout the day. Because if you've gone for the past 4 hours before your meal without eating anything, I'm starting to worry. Okay. All right. The last thing you can do in preparation for the big day. So tip number 4 would be have an escape plan. So this might look like you driving yourself to the venue. So that way, if things get really overwhelming, if there's like just way too many judgy comments, you have a place to go escape to. You could leave for a drive. If you're driving with your family, then maybe you're going for a walk around the block and you put in a podcast or a playlist and you go get some fresh air. You got to take a break, take a walk, and maybe even warn your family beforehand that you might do that. Be like, I might need a recharge. I might need a break, or find a back bedroom somewhere that you can go hide in to take some deep breaths if things are just really sucking out there. Okay. Have an escape plan. There is zero shame in having an escape plan, and even like, shooting your therapist or an email or text, like when you're like hiding in the closet because it's just so overwhelming out there. Totally no shame in having an escape plan. Highly recommend it. Okay. All right. I'm just going to check and see if we have any questions on there. Okay. All right. Tip number 5. I want you to take a bite of a bunch of different things. So Thanksgiving typically does not have just a main and a couple sides, right? You've got a main and maybe another main and like 10 different sides to choose from. My recommendation to you would be in your first round, on your first plate, would be taking a bite of a bunch of different things. Anything that you kind of like or curious about. If you know you hate it, don't worry about it. But like, yeah, take a bite of a bunch of different things because your plate's already going to be full if you do that. Yeah, I think that's a good way to just like sample things around, have some moderation. No one's going to get offended because you're trying so many things. You might be trying their thing. But yeah, I think that's a good tip for Thanksgiving plating, as well as, Christmas and Hanukkah plating as well. Okay. Number 6, your plate is your business. No comparing to other plates. Okay. Got my eye on you because I know that there's a lot of comparison that goes on in people who have eating disorders. There's so much. Keep your eyes on your own damn plate. All right. I know it's going to be hard to look up and you're wanting to see how much your skinny cousin is dishing, or you're going to want to look and try and reference like, okay, how much is normal? How much is okay? And I just want you to keep your eyes on your own plate as much as you possibly can. Okay. Your plate is your business. It's not anyone else's business to comment on it. We'll talk about how to respond to those kind of comments in a minute. But you feed your body however you need to. And that may look different than everyone else in the room. And that's okay. But promise you, people who at least are more balanced and healthy, have a healthy relationship with food, are not going to be, looking and eyeballing and judging by what's on your plate. I think unless it's way outside the social norm. Okay. So way outside the social norm would mean if your plate is just piled high with food and things are falling off, or if you literally just took a bite of something, right? Those things are so outside the social norm that they're going to draw attention to your plate. And I don't even blame the person for commenting on your plate if they're that far outside the social norm. So just maybe that brings me to, I guess my next one is number 7, be as normal as possible. I know, it's hard. It is easier said than done, but a big thing is what can you do to not draw so much attention to yourself? Because let's face it, when you are eating disorderly, it can pull attention. Oh, how weird this person is cutting things up into a million little bites, or how weird they only are taking vegetables, or how weird, right? Don't pull attention to yourself by eating weird. Okay, does that make sense? I hope that makes sense to you. But eat as normally as you possibly can. And a side note with that is that it is normal to eat past fullness. So it's normal because of it's a cultural thing for Thanksgiving and for some other meals that they're supposed to be big meals. They're supposed to be meals where you probably get more full than you do on a normal meal. So I just want you to know that it's okay. That is in the cultural norm. All right. So for the circumstance, it's normal, even though maybe eating that much wouldn't be normal for a normal Tuesday night. But for Thanksgiving, it is normal. So give yourself a little more compassion and wiggle room for eating past fullness, because that also is a part of being normal. Okay. All right. So number 8, suggest the intuitive eating game. So this is a game, and I'm trusting that you'll take this if it makes sense for your family system. But if your family is really, really disordered, right, and like this wouldn't be the time to suggest this game. Maybe it's one that you do more with your immediate family. But I'm gonna let you know what this game is. The eating game is where you go around the table when everyone has their food before they've started eating. You say, okay, where on a scale from 0 to 10 are you as far as your hunger and fullness goes? 10 is you are so full, like you are going to involuntarily throw up. 0 is so empty, you are going to pass out and die, okay? So where are they on that scale? Usually 5 is like pretty happy medium, like, yeah, I could eat, but also I'm fine, you know? So kind of base your answer on that. Kids might answer really funny, you know, they may be like 1, like 0, I'm dying, right? Like that's fine. But I think this is a game that can just help everyone else, like kind of start to get in touch with their bodies. Then again, at the end of it, at the end of the meal, you could go around again and say where you are on the hunger fullness scale. Some people might be like, oh, I'm a 9. Like I ate hardcore. This is like 0 judgment. This is supposed to be like a lighthearted game. Okay. All right. So tip number 9 would be to take a mindful moment. This is especially important for those who are starting to feel overwhelmed. You want to do this before you are so overwhelmed that you're already having a panic attack and need to leave. This would be just like when you're starting to notice some discomfort about being in your situation. So a mindful moment is going to look like using your 5 senses. I usually like to start with sound. So maybe you close your eyes quickly. People, if you're saying a prayer, it's cool. And figure out how many different like sounds you can hear. Do you hear a clinking of silverware? Do you hear the dog barking over here? Do you hear grandpa in this room and Uncle Ron in that room? Like, how many sounds are you hearing? Notice. So this is noticing without judgment. How many sounds can you hear? Notice then next go to like touch. Like, what is the feel of the tablecloth? What is the feel of like the fork, of the plate? What's the feel of my hair maybe? Then you can go into scent. What does my food smell like? What do my clothes smell like? Can I smell the detergent on them? Oh, do I smell like BO? Like all of this is also non-judgmentally. You are just noticing. Then you'd move to taste. So, actually, let's go to sight first. So you'd look at your food and you'd notice where the light hits the food. You'd notice like some of the textures that like, oh, I didn't notice there's little like brown sprinkles. That must be like some seasoning in it. Or, okay, like, really got to take a moment to get a good look at the food. Then lastly is where you'd eat it and you'd notice like, where do I chew it in my mouth? Like, oh, maybe if I hold it in my mouth a little longer, I can taste some of these flavors that I wouldn't have otherwise. Notice the texture, notice where, yeah, like how long can you taste it when you swallow it? Like, can you still taste it when it's back here? Yeah, and so you're just going to be doing that first bite, or that bite when you're feeling overwhelmed more slowly than normally. But yeah, that's a way to take a mindful moment, really be here, grounded in the present, so you're not so overwhelmed and needing to go take that break, which is okay if that's what it comes to, but these are some things that can help in the meantime. Tip number 10 is taking a gratitude moment. So, it is Thanksgiving after all, but really a gratitude moment is a time for you to kind of think about your food's journey. How much work did it take for the food to arrive on your plate? Okay, think about, so let's say Aunt Lisa made the stuffing. Okay, so the stuffing is made of what? So we have, there's bread, there's chicken broth, there's seasoning, there's celery. Okay, how many people do you think it took to grow the celery that went into the stuffing, that planted the wheat, that watered the wheat, that weeded the wheat, and harvested the wheat that went into the bread, that then was dried in the sun or in a machine or something to then like get into the package to make the stuffing, right? I want you to really express gratitude for every step of the way and kind of have this moment of awe about all the sacrifice that has gone into the food that is here before you. Because yeah, that's definitely not something that is existent in all countries, right? And for all levels of privilege. And so it's time to take a second and be truly grateful for the journey that your food took to get from farm to table. Okay. Number 11 is focus on the reason you're there instead of the food. Look, if the whole reason you even came to grandma's house for Thanksgiving is for the food, no judgment, okay? Like maybe your family's not the best, but chances are the whole point, right? What's the whole point of Thanksgiving? It's getting people together so we can spend time, some quality time with one another. I want you to focus on the relationships that you have. Focus on the cousins that you only get to see once a year. Focus on the time that you get to spend with grandma and grandpa, because maybe they're not going to be around that much longer. Focus on the reason why you're there and make it about them, make it about the relationships and not about the food. If you are so obsessed with the food and making it all about the food, you're really going to miss out on what the experience of just living is like. And that's such a sad thing that's lost for people who have eating disorders. And I get that that's not a choice, right? That your brain just obsesses that way. But for, do what you can to appreciate the people and the reason why Thanksgiving is even a thing in the first place. Okay. Number 12, if you are getting some really triggering comments from Aunt Jan, I'm just going to use Aunt Jan because I feel like everyone has an Aunt Jan. Just remember, it is not you. It is them. And truly, and this is like a therapist-y thing too, but like if you listen to them, you listen to what they're saying, they're going to tell you a whole lot about themselves and what they believe about themselves. Okay. So if Janet is talking about the workout that she has to do after she eats the pumpkin pie, what is that saying about Jan? Okay. Because I know we have a tendency to be like, oh, what does that mean about me? Make this about me. Oh my gosh, she's judging me for eating the pie. I don't know, whatever. But it doesn't. It actually doesn't mean anything about you when she's saying this. It means something about her. It means that she's steeped in diet culture, maybe. It maybe means that she's feeling pretty insecure about her body. It maybe means that she's feels like she needs to say this so people don't give her a hard time about eating how much she did. Maybe she needs to say it so her husband feels like she's working out and doesn't lose her marriage. Like, what does this say about her? Because it says stuff about her. It doesn't say anything about you, okay? So remember that it's them, not you. It's them projecting, especially if they're like, oh, you're going to eat all that? Again, it still doesn't mean something about you. Still doesn't. They are projecting. And get curious about that. What are they projecting onto me? Why are they projecting onto me? Isn't that interesting? Okay. Lastly, tip number 13. It's your job to change your family. Look, sometimes your family is open to coaching, right? And I recognize that you do have family members likely who are open to coaching and doing better. But Thanksgiving's probably not the time, like in front of everyone else, to have that lesson, right? That would be awkward. But you are welcome to say, like when something really judgy is said, to say, oh, in my experience, remember that line, okay? In my experience. Because that way you're avoiding projecting onto them and you are just sharing, like, in my experience, I've learned that labeling foods like good or bad really pushes me into diet mentality, and that's not healthy for me. Or in my experience, I like being able to like eat little bits throughout the day, so that way I don't have to overdo it at Thanksgiving, right? Like if you are going to share with your family or try to school them, please do it in a loving way by saying, in my experience, okay? It's not your job to change them. So there you have it with the 13 tips. Now, let's jump into responding to some of the questions and comments we've gotten. So, okay, we have the questions right here. Okay. Someone said or asked, said she's having trouble breaking up with the scale and fitness tracker. Oh my gosh, that is so real. And that is something that every single person who comes into my office like has to deal with at some point. So I'm just saying this like you're not alone in this struggle. It's very normal. So breaking up with the scale, I mean, that can be like a multifaceted process. I mean, ideally, all you need is this nudge. Get rid of your fucking scale. Hopefully that's all you need. And now you're going to go do it. But chances are that didn't work for you. The last 1,200 times you've read that in a book or heard that from a professional that said, get rid of your scale. In which case, either you got some options here. You put some duct tape over the number. If you love weighing yourself every day, great. But we're going to do it without a number. Or perhaps you're the type of person who needs to wean off it gradually. This is one I actually don't super recommend, but I know it's worked for some people. If let's say they're the kind of person who's weighing themselves 6 times a day, maybe you are saying, okay, well for the next week, I'm only going to weigh myself twice a day. Like that's improvement, even though you want you to get rid of it, but that could be a way. You could make it a fun thing where you go and like, take a BB gun to that scale, or you go and like hit it with a hammer outside with your friend, have your friend also grab their scale, right? And do it. You can bring it into your dietitian or therapist and say, hey, I don't trust myself with this anymore. Can you have it? This is going to be more important than trying to just like hide the scale, because what happens with hiding the scale? You find it. What happens if your mom or dad hide the scale? You get really desperate and you'll go digging around and stuff and you'll find it. Like everyone does. Everyone finds it. So yeah, scales are it's so hard to recover from eating disorder when you have a scale as this constant reminder of this arbitrary number that means nothing more than your gravitational pull upon the earth and says nothing about who you are and your worth value as a person. It is not a health indicator. Don't let anyone tell you it is. Bullshit. So fitness tracker, I'm not sure if you mean the app on your phone, in which case that app needs to be deleted. And I've heard every excuse under the sun as to why I need to keep it and why it's a good thing for me. And I don't. Like if you're serious about this recovery thing, you'll delete it today. If you have one of those like watches, like that track it or whatever, like either you need to sell the watch because it's not good for you, if you figure out how to take the step counter off. Because again, this is just another reminder of this arbitrary number that makes you feel like you haven't done enough. And it's not going to be helpful for you in this recovery process. So those are my quick answers for you, not knowing the nuances of your situation. I hope your therapist and dietitian can help come up with even more tailored answers and to how to break up your scale and fitness tracker, but you're not alone. Okay, next question. Okay, is what do I do if my family member starts guilt tripping me because I don't want to eat what they made? Okay, so if they start to guilt trip you, then okay, you've got to determine it may not be worth the fight, and you might just put it on your plate. You might just take a bite of it. I mean, it might be a really small portion, right? And then you like end up putting your napkin on top of it. Like, if it's not worth the fight. Sometimes it is worth the fight. And sometimes you go, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I know you spent so much hard work. I am so full, right? Hopefully that's something that they can stop pushing you about. The other compromise is saying, hey, can you put it in a Tupperware for me? I'm just so full, but then like not eat it. So those are some options if they're really pushing the food on you. Because in some families, food equals they're trying to express their love. And here, got to take their love, got to love me, I guess. Okay, so How do I honor my hunger and fullness cues when when there's so much going on? There's so much going on around to distract me from what I'm feeling. Um, yeah, that's so legit. Like, because it's easiest to do mindful eating exercises and intuitive eating when you're like by yourself without your phone, without your TV going. So, like, that's the ideal situation. Um, Either now isn't the time to try to do intuitive eating. Like, it might not be the time to do the exercise if there's just so freaking much going on. Or you do that intuitive eating, like exercise thing or game with yourself. So right before like you get your plate, you sit down, and right then you do a check-in with yourself. Okay, where am I on the hunger and fullness scale? 3. Okay, I'm hungry. Great. And you go, 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 go. And then when your plate's done, you're like, where am I on the hunger and fullness scale? I'm a 5. I'm gonna go get seconds, right? Um, yeah, those would be some of my tips for dealing with that. Um, yeah. Also, just know it's super normal to go back for seconds and thirds on Thanksgiving. Super normal. Which maybe brings me back to like that tip point of taking like a little bit of a bunch of things so then you can decide like really what you want to load up on when you're getting seconds. So, okay. If I overeat on Thanksgiving, did I do an intuitive eating wrong? No. Like, no, you did not do it wrong. There's no real wrong for this. Like maybe you just weren't as mindful as you could be otherwise, but also maybe you were just being normal. Maybe you were just fitting in with the family, right? Maybe you were just fitting in and doing what is expected for a holiday that's so focused around food. So please do not beat yourself up for overeating, especially not on Thanksgiving when it's very culturally appropriate and normal to do so. Okay. Okay. Nervous about eating breakfast and lunch with the possibility of a large dinner at night. I feel the urge to exercise a lot the week of to compensate that. Oh boy. Oh boy. No, 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 no. Okay. So exercise never should be a way you don't have to earn your food through exercise. You don't have to pay penance for your food with exercise. If you want to exercise, then I want you to be doing it for the right reasons and have those reasons have nothing to do with food, what you did or didn't eat. Okay. And again, that brings me back to the tip of eating consistently throughout the day. So what will happen if you eat consistently throughout the day is your stomach will already be like a little more full than maybe some other people in because you did eat lunch. So therefore, you'll be a lot more likely to eat a more appropriate and intuitive portion for you and your body. Okay. So there's that. Yeah. Is it okay if I just focus on breaking 1 or 2 food rules instead of trying to be perfect at breaking all of the food rules? Absolutely. Yeah. Again, like these probably aren't the opportunities to like really challenge your eating disorder, or challenging those food rules. Yeah, Thanksgiving might not be the time. It kind of depends on where you are in your recovery. If you've been in recovery for a while and you think, all right, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna take a bite of the pecan pie, and that really scares me. Like, do it. But don't put pressure on yourself to break all of like these rules. I mean, even if you break one of your food rules, like we're calling that a win. But here's the thing, even if you don't break some of your food rules and you play it more safe at Thanksgiving, I'm going to understand. And I hope you can respond to yourself with grace that like, it probably isn't the time when it's like the most stressful meal for you of the year, or when there is so many people watching and so much going on. Like, I don't blame you for like not challenging everything. Okay. Okay. Let's see. I think I'm going to jump to how to respond to some of the comments that you may get from Aunt Jan. Okay. Yeah, let's see how we respond. Okay, so here's some food comments that I've heard my clients tell me that their family member has said. oh my gosh, I'm being so bad. The way you can respond to this, if you're snarky like me, is, oh no, did you kill someone? Or you list something that actually is bad? Because then it kind of puts in perspective, maybe they need to be a little more careful with word choice, because if eating pumpkin pie is so bad, like, did you kill someone to eat that pumpkin pie? Yeah, maybe you're all right then. Another comment you might get is, oh, my diet starts tomorrow. Bet you hear that one. I've certainly heard that one. Yeah, and I think responding with some compassion to that one of being like, oh my gosh, no, please don't diet. Like, no, like I love you and I want you to take care of your body. Might be a very sweet way to respond to that kind of comment. Or you roll your eyes and you send your support person a text message, or you make eyes across the room and go at a comment like that. Yeah, but again, it's like, what are they saying about them? Because it doesn't say anything about you. Yeah, if someone's saying like something about food being naughty, like, oh, I'm being so naughty. I guess that's kind of like the first one, but oh no, what did you do to make it bad? Is it expired? And you list something, some reason that a food would actually be made bad, rather than it being because it has nutrients or calories. That was kind of like the first one. Okay, let's see. Some body comments you might get is, you're looking a bit bigger, or something along those lines. You say, oh, thank you. You too. Again, that's probably a more snarky one, but also one that I would say, depending on the family member. If they're saying, oh, you are looking small, you're looking so slim, something like that. I give you permission to make it awkward for them for saying that. So some of my favorites that my clients have said is, oh yeah, that's really awkward because I'm suffering from an eating disorder. Now that would be the most awkward response, and I'd give you so much applause for that if you just own that one, where you go, oh yeah, I'm actually suffering from malnutrition. Like, give them this blank stare. Oh my gosh, like please make it awkward for them. They just said that. I want them to know that it's not okay to say this. So make it weird. Make it weird, please. Make it weird. You could also be polite and say, please don't comment on my packaging. Now, you're asserting a boundary, saying, please don't comment. Packaging is a way of distancing your identity from your body. So it's don't make comments about me, kind of ties in our body image. I don't know how to explain this. It makes it more about us than about our bodies. And really, we want to make it not about us at all. So what I'd say is, say my packaging or something like that. Or don't comment that way about my vehicle. Don't talk that way about my vessel, right? Like some other word that's not me. If all else fails, focus on what do you think their intention was in telling you that. Because chances are, when grandma said, oh, you're looking more plump, and like pats you on the bum. Yeah, my grandma's a big bum pat. Don't know, but I think it's cute. Yeah, like what is she really trying to say? Is it it to be an insult? Is she saying it like it's a bad thing? And if so, then who freaking cares about an 88-year-old's opinion of your body? But really, what's the intention behind them saying it? Because a lot of times they're trying to tell you like, oh, you're so cute, or I'm so happy that you're more healthy than you were last year. So focus on the intention and not what they're saying if all else fails. If it's something like some situation where you really can't, it would really hurt the relationship to talk back. Okay, if they say, are you sure you want seconds? Say, yeah, I'm sure. I didn't come all this way to just eat salad. Like, hell yeah, you're cooking so yummy. Of course I'm going to eat seconds. You own those seconds. You own it. Yeah, if someone says something about like, oh I'll have to start my workout tomorrow. I'll have to go running tomorrow. How about you don't need to earn your food? Is probably the way I'd respond. Again, okay. In real life, I don't respond unless there is someone in the room who I either know or suspect has some disordered eating, in which case I jump into mama bear mode and I'll say the thing. Because I don't want them to get triggered. But for the most part, I just won't say anything and just like roll my eyes and be like, that's so sad for you. That's so sad that you have to run tomorrow because I'm not going to. But yeah, I mean, it could be a learning moment and say, I'm actually working on not using running to be repentance for my food choices, or I'm actually working on not earning my food with movement. So something like that can kind of in their face, give it right back to them. Yeah, so those are some options on how to respond to comments that you may get. Please drop in the chat if there are any comments that you get or you're afraid of getting or have gotten in years past that you want to know have a good response to. Okay. Yeah, let's see if there's any other questions. My family labels all foods good and bad. Oh, yeah, we kind of talked about how to respond to that. Okay, well, if there is nothing else, I hope I have armed you with at least some options, okay? Some options of things to do so you don't feel so alone. But man, don't forget that support person. Talk to them beforehand. Make an escape plan. All those good things. It will help you a lot. So, yeah. Lastly, I just want to put it out there that like we are hiring therapists once again. So if you have a therapist that you love and think would be great with the Modern Eve team, let me know so I can reach out to them and get them to come join our badass crew of women. Yeah, so hiring, or if you're a therapist yourself and passionate about eating disorder recovery, come join us. And also, we recently hired a dietitian a couple weeks ago at the beginning of November. Her name is Josie. She's got a lot of experience with disordered eating. She's super passionate about intuitive eating and helping people who struggle with binge eating disorder. It's kind of her niche. So if that is something that interests you or it's something that a loved one needs, she's got openings. And yeah, that's kind of what we got over here going on at Modern Eve. So wishing you a happy holiday season and eat your freaking food.